longing, waiting, searching for a radically inclusive, vibrant, emergent, sweet, traditional, non-traditional, musical, welcoming Jewish space to go deep, to sing, to eat, sometimes to fast, to remember, to heal, to play and to pray in?
Welcome to Micah,
an everybody-friendly, inclusive, multi-generational spiritual community where innovation drives our explorations into and celebrations of Jewish life. A congregation where people of all ages seek to build community and help prepare the world.
Judaism at Micah. Experience it in person or online. For a full list of our services and programs, like us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and visit our website, congregationmicah.org. Shalom Aleichem, may peace be upon you.
Ya la 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 la.
Yai lai lai, ya la lai lai, ya la lai lai lai, ya la lai lai. Olam chesed yibaneh, ya la lai lai lai, ya la lai lai. Olam chesed yibaneh, ya la lai lai lai, ya la lai lai. Olam chesed yibaneh, ya la lai lai lai, ya la lai lai. Olam chesed yibaneh, ya la lai lai lai, ya la lai lai. I will build this world from love. Ya la lai lai lai, ya la lai lai. And you must build this world from love. Ya la lai lai lai, ya la lai lai. And if we build this world from love, ya la lai lai lai, ya la lai lai, then God will build this world from love. Ya la lai lai lai, ya la lai lai. Olam chesed, olam chesed yibaneh, ya la lai lai lai, ya la lai lai. Olam chesed yibaneh, ya la lai lai lai, lai lai.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Well, the past couple of weeks have been quite horrific for the Jewish people and for our family in Israel. But tonight, we are going to celebrate Shabbat. And so how is it that we mourn and celebrate at the same time? Those of you, few of you who are on our board, you already heard this, so don't give it away. I learned something new from Cantor Josh this week. I learn new things from him all the time. Great addition to our team. Cantor Josh went home last Shabbat to attend the wedding of a friend from kindergarten. Rabbi David Stern, who officiated, noted that the Jewish people are in a great period of pain and sorrow, and yet the joy and celebration of a wedding must go on. And he said that when a funeral procession and a wedding party meet on the street, who gets to go first? The grief and the loss, or the joy and the gladness? According to the Talmud, Masechet Ketubot, in the section on marriage, if a funeral procession and a wedding procession meet at an intersection, the wedding procession goes first. Jewish sages teach that when the two meet, we reroute our grief and we don't postpone our celebration, because joy and gladness get the right of way. But why did the sages think this way? So Tractate Smachot, also known as Evel Rabbati, a minor tractate that deals with mourning, suggests that the honor of the living takes precedence over the deceased. Now, I didn't really find this answer particularly satisfying, so I dug a little bit further. And there are a few other classical commentaries about this text, most of which suggest that we do not postpone joy because Jews are a people invested in hope. So the wedding takes precedence, because a funeral is a reflection on all that was, while a wedding is a reflection on all that is yet to be. This idea of prioritizing one over the other was really, again, not totally satisfying because I think they share so much in common. Were it up to me, I would rewrite the Talmudic text and do some construction work to widen the way, for all of you in construction, so that when the wedding and the funeral meet together in the street, the two processionals could share the road. Because when I stand with congregants at a funeral, there is much loss and grief, but there often is joy and gladness, laughter mixed with the tears, sometimes a deep sense of gratitude and a celebration of life. And when I stand with congregants at a wedding, there's so much joy and gladness, but there's often loss and grief. Grief for those whose absence is palpably felt, the sorrow for letting go of children who have grown, and I can't help but notice the smiles of those who witness with joy but long for a love of their own. The prayers and belief behind weddings and funerals manifest in the idea of Gan Eden, the Garden of Eden, for which many cemeteries are actually named, and from which emerges in the Sheva Brachot, the 7 wedding blessings, evincing a life with many stops, held in eternal safety and peace. When the rabbis of the Talmud nudge us to imagine, what they nudge us to imagine is this. As the beloveds cross the road to their huppah, and the mourners in the funeral procession look out from their sadness through the car window, in a split second, they see one another and they look into each other's eyes. The mourners witness as joy proceeds, the beloveds witness the fragility of life, and neither one's existence can steal from the other's truth. Because loss and grief and joy and gladness are deeply intertwined at every moment of being human. So maybe we need the reminder to push ourselves, especially when the world is offering us more grief than gladness, to witness them both, but not to postpone the joy. Rather, we let joy lead the way, and so too we will on this Shabbat. Cantor.
And to add to that joy, I happen to have a very special friend in town from Los Angeles area, Cantor Daniel Friedman from Temple Ramat Zion in Northridge, and we have a very joyous song. Whenever there's 2 tenor cantors together, we kind of have to sing this song. And it's called Yom Zeh LeYisrael, and it's an arrangement based on some Spanish Jewish folk melodies, and the translation means, "This is Israel's day, light and joy, restful Sabbath. Moses would rejoice in his given portion, and what did you call him? You called him your faithful servant." So this is Yom Zeh LeYisrael.
Yom Zeh LeYisrael, Ora v'simcha, ora v'simcha, ora v'simcha, Shabbat menucha, ora v'simcha, ora v'simcha, Shabbat menucha.
Yom Zeh LeYisrael, ora v'simcha, ora v'simcha, ora v'simcha, Shabbat menucha, ora v'simcha, ora v'simcha, Shabbat menucha. Yom Zeh LeYisrael, ora v'simcha, ora v'simcha, ora v'simcha, Shabbat menucha, ora v'simcha, ora v'simcha, Shabbat menucha.
You can just hear them dancing in the streets, celebrating Shabbat, coming in joy. Yismach Moshe,
Yismach Moshe, Yismach Moshe,
b'matanat chelko
ומה קראת לו?
ומה קראת לו?
עבד נאמן קראת לו, קראת לו, קראת לו.
עבד נאמן קראת לו, קראת לו, קראת לו.
ומה נתת לו?
ומה נתת לו?
כלילי בראשו נתת לו, נתת לו, נתת לו.
כליל בראשו נתת לו, נתת לו, נתת לו. ישמח You are so lucky to have this man here. I'm telling you, we miss him so very much. So thank you.
This was wonderful. Thank you. That was just, what a treat. Well, I definitely feel like I'm smiling, which is a nice thing to feel. And also smiling because we are celebrating a bar mitzvah this Shabbat. Brendan Shore. Brendan, we're going to have you come forward with your mom, Tiffany, your sister Bailey, your dad, Brian, to light our Shabbat candles. Here, take this.
Yalla la 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 la. Yalla la 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 la. Yalla la 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 la. Yay la la la. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav V'tzivanu lehadlik ner V'tzivanu lehadlik ner V'tzivanu lehadlik ner Shel Shabbat Yalla la 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 Yalla la 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 Yalla la 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 Yay la 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 la. Thank you, Shore family.
We'll invite everyone to please rise if they're able for the words of Hatzi Kaddish.
Yitgadol v'yitkadosh shemei rabba.
Amen.
Be'alma divrach yute, ve'amlich malchute, v'chayeon
v'yomechon, uvchaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'gala uvizman, kariv, v'yimeru amen. Yeshmei rabba mevorach, le'olam u'lam me'amaya, yitbarach.
Yitbarach v'yishtabak, v'yit pa'ar, v'yit roman, v'yit naseh, v'yit hadar, v'yit haleh, v'yit halah, shemei de kudashar,
Brihu.
le'ela min kol birchata, v'shirata,
Tushbechata v'nechemata, damiram be'alma.
V'yimeru amen. Please remain standing for Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu et Adonai hamevorach. Baruch Adonai hamvorach leolam va'er. Baruch Adonai hamvorach leolam va'ed. You may be seated. Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Brendan will continue leading us in the chanting of Ve'ahavta. Please join him. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha u'bechol levavcha u'bechol nafshecha u'bechol meodecha ve'hayu ha'devarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'beitecha uv'lektecha v'derech uv'shokbecha uv'kumecha u'kshartam le'ot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha u'chtavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'visharecha leman tizkeru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'hitem kedoshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim lihiot lachem le'Elohim Ani Adonai Elohechem.
Adonai Elohechem emet. Continue with Micha Mocha. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha ne'edar ba'kodesh, nora tehilot osei fele, malchutecha ra'u vanecha, hokei hayam lifnei Moshe, ze eli anu ve'ameru, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed.
Okay, so I said we were going to celebrate Shabbat. Pardon me on the Ve'ahavta slides. That was on me, not on Cantor. I was a little confused. All right, but y'all know it, so I wasn't worried about that. So we always take a pause each time we come together for services to celebrate the good things. And sometimes you have a week where there's not so much good, and this was a week with a lot of grief, but thank you, Cantor. It's really just not my strong suit. They didn't teach us this in rabbinic school, and Rabbi Flip is gone, so the slides will not be good till he gets back. That's all I can tell you. I said to Cantor, do you want to run the slides or do you want me to run the slides? And he said, you run the slides. And I said, okay, I'll run the slides, but then what's going to happen? So if you do have something joyous to share with the rest of us, please let us share in your celebration on this Shabbat. So I know that the Shore family has a lot to celebrate, which is great. Raise your hand if you're here because of Brendan Shore this Shabbat. All right, I know there's going to be more of you tomorrow morning, but welcome to Congregation Micah. We're glad you're here. You have a fine grandson. Or relative. I don't know if he's your grandson, but I think he is. All right, other things to celebrate. Yes, Marshall. I know, I got to meet Mara. I'm so glad your family is here. If you all have not met Mara in the back, she is one of the cutest toddlers I've ever seen. Quite adorable, so very exciting to meet her. Vera. Hi, Ronnie 2. Ronnie 2 is here with us. It's very nice. Ronnie 1 is just picking up stray Jews in Williamson County and bringing them to Micah. All right, no security clearance needed. Just come on in. We like it. Ronnie, you do have friends not named Ronnie, right? Because you got Don and Vera. Okay, just checking. Okay. Oh, another celebration? Where? Okay, Karen, but you all were pointing over this way. What are you doing to me? Karen, happy birthday. Is today your birthday? Oh, happy birthday. That's so nice. It's Judith Mandel's birthday yesterday. What's today? Is today the 20th?
Yes.
Does anybody have a birthday today? Steve, yours is tomorrow. Mine was Monday. Yeah, it's very exciting. I mean, it's always good to get another year around the sun. The alternative is not desirable, so we're going to celebrate the birthdays. Other celebrations. Yes, Mike.
The Lurches were able to get themselves back to the United States.
Yeah, I know that was with mixed emotion, but I'm hopeful we'll have a Lurch sighting sometime around early November. That's my goal. I'm going to draw them in. Yes, Ira. 20 years? Wow. Is today your anniversary? Oh, we got a whole month thing going on here. My daughter tries to say it's her birthday month also, but we ixnay that. We're like, it's a day. You don't get a whole month. But that's really nice. Well, thank you for celebrating it with us tonight. Really nice. These are all good things. Anything else? Yes.
I hope I'll be here next weekend, but 10-day countdown for Caleb to deliver numbers.
Oh, that's exciting. I didn't like the way you started that. I was like, we hope you're here next weekend too, Steve. All right, Steve's daughter, one of Steve's daughters, is having her third, hopefully, next weekend, her third child. Yeah, so we hope good things. We say b'sha'a tova in Judaism, may be at the right time, and I would also say with as little pain as possible. I don't know how it goes. So, Lisa. Oh, Trisha, happy birthday. October birthdays, I'm just going to say, you are all my favorite people. If you're not an October birthday, I don't preference you as much. That's how it goes. So, I'm just kidding. Happy birthday. Joe.
We have a wedding anniversary next week.
You do? How many years is it? What you should say is lots of good ones.
Yeah, lots of good.
Lots of good ones. Well, happy anniversary.
All good ones.
Oh, Judy will discuss later. Pop-up. Sally and Larry are here. Sally and Larry, we call them Aunt Sally and Uncle Larry, even though they're not actually my aunt and uncle, but we love them. They're some of our favorite relatives. And they're here visiting from Milwaukee, which is great. Yeah. So many good things to smile about. All right. And Dee, welcome back. We are glad you're healthy enough to be with us. I love that. When someone moves off the Misha Barak list and back into the sanctuary, that's the right direction. Yeah. Any other celebrations I'm missing? Okay, well, this is all great. And for the sake of continued protection and safety, not just for all of us, but for our people and especially our family in Israel, we offer the words of Hashkivenu.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom Hamidenu shomrei Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom Ve'amidenu shoreinu lechaim Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom Hashkivenu shoreinu lechaim Ve'amidenu malkeinu lechaim Ushmor tzeiteinu uvoeinu lechaim u'shalom me'ata ve'ad Hashkivenu Adonai, Hashkivenu leShalom, Hamidenu leShalom, Hamidenu lechaim, Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leShalom, Hamidenu shorei, Hamidenu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom Ve'amidenu shoreinu lechaim.
We invite you to please rise for the tefillah. Brendan is going to help lead us. This one is? Okay, ready.
Adonai sifatak tiftah ufia gita hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu v'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei HaKol, V'Zocher Hasdei Avot V'Imahot, Umevi Geulah Livnei B'neihem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Bezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechaye HaKol Atah Rav Lehoshia, Mashiv HaRuach U'Morid HaGashem, Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed, Mechaye HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Verofei Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Bal Gevurot, Umidomelach, Melech Meimit Umechaye, Umasmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah l'hachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechaye hakol, Atah
kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom yahalelucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai ha'el ha'kadosh.
We take the next few moments for our own silent prayer. Please feel free to find your seat when you're ready. We think of those in our community who are in need of healing on this Shabbat. We think of Frank Timon, David Rose, Calvin Drew, Jonathan Stout, Mike Hamilton, Sydney Rappaport, Hillary Weinstein, and Rachel Pockmere. Please share the names of those you are thinking of as my hand moves around the room. We take all their names in our hearts, offering this prayer that reminds us to reach out to those who are in need, to lend an extra hand, to share a phone call or a hug, some kind of support for those who are in need of either healing of body or healing of spirit. Let's sing together.
Beirach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mi shebeirach imotenu Mekor HaBracha Lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
The attack occurred on October 7th. Simchat Torah on the Jewish calendar when we read from the end of Devarim and we begin reading from Genesis. In a cosmic haunting echo of what was going on around our Israeli family, the Torah cycle moved from Devarim, Hebrew for words, to a world that was, as described in Genesis, tohu vavohu, formless and chaotic, with a darkness over the deep. Israel and the Jewish world passed from Devarim to Ein Milim, as my colleague Rabbi Buchdahl puts it, no words. Indeed, this has been a time of no words. And then Genesis describes how God initiated creation. Vayomer Elohim yehi or, vayhi or. Let there be light, and there was light. God creates light. Creates an entire world with a directive, with milim, with words. And as Jewish people, we understand the power of words to create a reality. Words bolster nations and build bridges and bring healing. Words can also become barriers, curses, even weapons. Jews have never ascribed to the childhood rhyme that words will never hurt us. We know how very potent they are. And we also know how silence, the absence of words, can enable evil and chaos. As I sat this week and last heartsick, like so many of you, I was shocked by the words that kept appearing in response to the attacks. Words like resistance, or decolonizing, or freedom fighters. Words that found a way to blame Israel for these monstrous attacks. We heard them even in our own community here, in not so subtle ways, like the participants at a pro-Palestinian rally last week who spit on Israelis and Jews standing nearby to counter-protest while chanting 6 million wasn't enough. And then there are the not-so-subtle phrasings, like a video shown for context at a nearby church gathering that referenced Hamas militants rather than terrorists, and said that Israelis were killed rather than murdered. These are nuances, but they matter. The contortions people engage in to blame defenseless children, teenagers, Holocaust survivors, for their own murder, betray a moral bankruptcy and hypocrisy I could not believe was possible. Equally upsetting were the muted or ethically opaque statements from the people we look to for moral leadership. At our most prestigious universities, there is a silence from administrations that leapt to speak out about George Floyd's killing and the war on Ukraine. University presidents and heads of schools at local independent schools here in Nashville, who could not bring themselves to state the simple truths of these attacks. The perpetrators were terrorists. Their chosen victims were Jews. These leaders have made a career of words, and they know their power. And again, we saw them choose words that made false equivalencies, blamed Jewish victims, and implied moral ambiguity when there was none. And the media. For a full week, people debated if Hamas beheaded Israelis or just peacefully burned them alive. Yet it took the media exactly 1 minute to spread the lie that Israel bombed a hospital in Gaza, when all the evidence showed that it did not. It was chilling to realize how many people, often those who generally have the most compassion for the victims of oppression and violence, suddenly have a blind spot when the victims are Jews. Never before have I felt the power that words have for creating reality and how deafening their silence in the face of atrocity. I belong to a national multi-faith group with leaders from Jewish, Muslim, and Christian communities from all over the country. At first, they issued no statement. Then, when they did, it was full of platitudes. We stand in solidarity with people in the region. We call to stop the violence in the Holy Land. My colleague, Rabbi Jen Lader, and I went back and forth with the leaders of the group at the national level all week. Ultimately, they didn't make a statement at all. They could not say the words, "We condemn Hamas for their terrorism and massacre of the Jewish people in Israel." I've spent almost 2 decades building bridges with and friendships within the Muslim community here in Nashville. Earlier this week, I sent an email to 6 of my friends and attempted to lob a softball. I wrote, "Friends, as anguished as I am at the mass murder and kidnapping of Israelis in a brutal terrorist attack last week in southern Israel, I 100% condemn the killing of innocent Palestinians anywhere. I don't want to assume that you know that I feel that way. I believe that this is a struggle of those who believe violence is the way and the rest of us who believe there is another way. I know there is another way." One of them wrote me back and said, "Thank you. This means more than you know." Another then wrote, "Thank you for your email. It has been challenging to say the least. An imam from New Jersey lost 15 members of his family in Gaza the day before yesterday, and I didn't know what to say to comfort him. On Saturday, a 6-year-old Muslim boy was killed in Chicago, and the police have recognized it as a hate crime. It is devastating, and the issue is, if we do not act, I don't think the violence will have an end." To which I responded, "That is all horrific and incomprehensible. Unimaginable death and loss. Why do you think it's so hard for Muslims to say to their Jewish friends, 'I am anguished by the loss of Israeli life'? Because no one has said that to me, and I don't know why. But I also don't know why anti-Semitism is the oldest form of hate. People ask me why Jews have been hated for so long, and I can't honestly say. Participants at Palestinian rallies, even here in Nashville, are chanting, 6 million wasn't enough. We have to support one another. I believe it's the best and only way forward. And we have to collectively mourn Jewish and Muslim life, all life, and advocate publicly for the preservation of every soul." To which I received the following response. "Dear Lori, Muslims do not have anything against Jews simply because of their religion, but we have a significant disagreement over the political situation in the Holy Land. Every 12 minutes, a child loses his or her life in Gaza. I stand firm against the killing of innocent people, regardless of their faith, culture, or way of life." To which I responded, "This statement in your email caught my focus. Muslims do not have anything against Jews simply because of their religion, but we have a significant disagreement over the political situation in the Holy Land. That sentence, coupled with the fact that not one of my Muslim friends have yet to be able to say the words, 'What happened on October 7th was terrorism and despicable, and the loss of Israeli life that morning was wrong and terrible,' leads me to surmise that either subtly or actively, there's a sense that Israel got what they deserved. We can disagree from," this is me still writing, "we can disagree from morning until night about the political situation in the Holy Land, but what I am talking about is babies and children and women and teenagers kidnapped, tortured in front of their family, girls and women raped and sodomized and paraded through Gaza City naked, stories of torture that are so barbaric and truly incomprehensible that the words, 'I stand firm against the killing of innocent people regardless of their faith, culture, or way of life,' is just not enough. Still writing. I understand that there are likely many times in the past when assaults against the Muslim community were not called out by Jewish leaders to our Muslim neighbors effectively or at all. And for all of those times, every one of them, I am sincerely apologetic and will strive to be more thoughtful, aware, outreaching, and vocal going forward. But if there is a feeling that Israel got what it deserved, it's important that I know that so I can reevaluate and recontextualize the relationships that we all have together. I need to hear that my Muslim friends state clearly that they condemn the terrorist murder of Israelis by Hamas on October 7th. I agree that politics can and should be debated, but the sanctity and value of our shared humanity is not open for debate and must be shared at times like this. I truly worried that I'd spent 2 decades building bridges to nowhere. That I would have to face, proverbial tail between my legs, all those naysayers in my family and the larger Jewish community who have said to me over the years, they will never truly be your friends. The postscript that I had to add today, happily, is that one of the Muslim women on the email thread did write me late yesterday with the most thoughtful and heart-filled response. And she did say the words I needed to hear. And another wrote me again today with the same words. Now, does she or any of those with whom I've been in relationship with acknowledge the right for Jews to a homeland? And I will say, I asked that question, and one said yes. But I can't say for the whole group, but I feel hopeful that there is still an opportunity to remain connected in an authentic way. I am not giving up on these relationships. I am an eternal optimist, which feels like a good quality for your rabbi, I think. But all that said, this week I read statements from folks, some of them allies, that were so implausible, I had to read them several times to make sure they were not satire. In these statements was not only the inability to condemn the murder of innocents, but sometimes an unwillingness to condemn Hamas, sometimes even a subtle hint at celebration. And let me just say that defending Hamas's atrocities does not signal that you care for Palestinians or their justice. It only reveals that you accept the same tropes of Jewish power that led to the murderous rampages in Europe and throughout history. The potent ancient lie that any Jew is responsible for the behavior of every Jew. The certainty that all Jews, any Jew, every Jew, is responsible for killing God, responsible for the Black Death, responsible for economic collapse, responsible for migrant caravans, hurricanes, space lasers, responsible for COVID, responsible for all human suffering. Ein milim. There are no words. Our Torah this week is the story of Noah, also a man of few words. Actually, for over 600 years, he's a man of no words. None. Until after the flood has come and gone, its waters risen and abated, until the earth has become habitable once again, and he has planted a vineyard, and he gets drunk, and he utters not one single syllable before then. God tells Noah there's going to be a floody that destroys all of humanity, and Noah never reasons why. Unlike Abraham, he never challenges God. He never protests against the evident injustice of God's decree. Now, I don't want to shame Noah here, but I'm going to for a moment. Jewish commentators blame Noah for this silence. He may indeed be a tzaddik, a righteous man, as the text acknowledges, but according to a caustic Yiddish compliment, he is known as a tzaddik im pels. He may be good at heart, but if he wraps up his goodness in his own fur coat and keeps himself warm and snug in isolation, of what benefit is this virtue to those around him? When Noah finally opens the door of the ark and sees the desolate landscape all around, he weeps. Were it a mere year earlier, there would have been habitation, forest and farmlands all around him, and now there lay only desolation of mud, uprooted trees, carcasses of mammals, the washed out clusters of feather of once birds, once nimble and elegant in flight, all the lucent glory gone from their broken wings. And according to the Zohar, our mystical text, at that moment Noah cries, he weeps, and God rebukes him for his belated tears. Why did you not weep earlier, God says, before it was too late? Why didn't he weep earlier? Why didn't he cry and cry out before it was all too late? And the Zohar says maybe it isn't God, but Noah himself who asks the question, why didn't I weep earlier? While the images of vast, drowned population nod their dead, muddy heads. Our friends and allies, those in the world who seem not to mind as much when the victims are Jews and to seem to care even more when Israel is the aggressor. Will you one day ask why you call out terrorism? Will you one day ask why you didn't call out terrorism when you saw it? Will you one day ask yourselves why you didn't stand by your fellow Jew and speak out on their behalf? And the answer is, you will not, because you too will be gone. Hamas may hold as its charter the annihilation of the Jewish state and Jews globally, but radical Islamic terrorists like Hamas or ISIS or Islamic Jihad, they don't just hate us. They hate anything Western, progressive, that embodies the values of free speech, freedom of religion, freedom to love whom we love and be who we authentically are. They don't really like egalitarianism. The list goes on. On Saturday afternoon of October 7th, when the reality of what took place in Israel finally sunk in, I thought to myself, surely this will be sufficient. Surely this amount of blood will be enough to shake the world awake. No one can equivocate or justify this. As Sarah Haider, a Pakistani-American writer, public speaker, and political activist wrote, how easy it is to simply condemn targeted violence against civilians. Can there be a lower bar? And yet, across the world, people have sunk below it. As Barry Weiss recently said, now we know. Now we know who would have looked at Jews shoved onto cattle cars and said, well, they did undermine the German economy. Because those are the people today saying, this is a justified response to the provocation of Israel existing. Now we know whose politics are rooted not in conservatism or liberalism or anything else other than simply hating Jews. And now we can see exactly how people manage to always come up with a reason for why the Jews deserved it. Hang in with me for just another moment. I had a lot to say. The people cheering and waving flags are not celebrating Palestinian liberation. The Palestinian rallies began before any sort of retaliation from Israel began. They were celebrating the success of October 7th. For those who so confidently exclaim that Hamas does not represent a majority of the Palestinian people, and I've said it as well, 63% voted for Hamas, 47% did not. Please help me and point me in the direction of Palestinian rallies that are denouncing Hamas. The ones that are chanting, not in our name. The Hamas attack that began on November 7th will not lead to a free Palestine. It will lead, and it already is, as we know, to a horrific escalation with many more dead on both sides. So, Rabbi, you ask, will you be leaving us with a note of optimism on the Shabbat? Because I've given you 19 pages of not so much. God gave Noah a rainbow. What do you have for us, Rabbi? Here's what I have. I have two stories of Israeli resilience and grit and ingenuity that leave me blee milim, without words. When Hamas terrorists broke into her home early Saturday morning, Rachel Adari did not have any guns, but she had another kind of weapon. She had cookies, which she offered to the men who held her and her husband captive for the next 15 hours. She said, "I could see they were angry. I asked them if they were hungry. I prepared them coffee and cookies." The snacks helped buy the couple enough time for their sons, both police officers, to join an operation that resulted in their liberation, a rare moment of rescue on a day marked primarily by loss. Israeli policeman Igal Singer is credited with saving as many as 500 people from the Supernova Festival, the outdoor music rave near the Gaza border, where Hamas terrorists launched a deadly massacre early on the morning of October 7th. As soon as Singer found out there was an infiltration of heavily armed terrorists, he and fellow officers blocked the main road leading out towards Sderot. Then Singer scrutinized Google Maps on his phone to find an alternative escape route that likely wouldn't be noticed by the terrorists. He used that path to drive into the area, began calling everyone within earshot to immediately get into cars, no matter which car, and follow him. Speaking to reporters from his hospital bed afterward, Singer recalled that he saw a convoy of 100 vehicles following him through the fields. And when they reached the area of Netivot, he knew they had reached safety. He likely saved over 500 people. According to the Torah, when God sent the flood, which wiped out most of humanity and animal life, God afterwards gifted the rainbow as a covenant, a promise that God would never again destroy the earth and humanity. I have a message for God tonight on this Shabbat. We are willing partners, God, in your creation, in your healing of the world. But we need to know that your rainbow is for real, that you will not let us be destroyed and wiped off the map. We are scared and we are hurt, and we are calling for you to be there for us in this moment, whatever that means. Shema Kolenu. Please, God, hear our prayer. Shabbat Shalom.
Shema Kolenu, Adonai Eloheinu, Chus v'rachem aleinu, v'kabel berachamim, uvratzon et tfilateinu. Won't you hear our voice above all the noise, and have mercy on our souls? We are in your care. Won't you hear our prayer and forgive us, forgive us. Shema Kolenu, Adonai Eloheinu, Chus v'rachem aleinu, v'kabel berachamim, uvratzon et tfilateinu. Lost our way, give us one more day to return to what is true. Take us in so we can begin new year. Won't you please hear? Shema Kolenu,
ורחם עלינו וקבל ברחמים וברצון את תפילתנו וברצון את תפילתנו וברצון את תפילתנו
Invite you to please rise for Elenu, and if anybody would like to come forward to open our ark doors, we invite you to do so. Please join us on the bima. Thank you, Pam. Thank you, guys.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
We honor the following yortzites on this Shabbat: Aaron Farber, Eileen Kaplan-Kessler, Bernard Davis, Betty Raunheim, David Stein, Dorothy Joseph Rose, Elizabeth Sheldon, Elmer Craig, Francis Zielinski, Harriet Rothkopf Starr, Harry Canner, Henry Cutler, Jerome Allen Averbush, Leon Morse Hecht Sr., Marcia Weingauze, Marshall Lewis, Miriam Robbins Fisher, Martha Hahn, Morris Frank Schwartz Jr., Morton Levy, and Seymour Spira. We continue mourning for Marvin Millman, Joanne Middleton, Dr. Marvin Schwartz, Sylvia Samus, Shirley Greenberg, Joseph Morton Weinstein, David Alberts, Zacharia Gendy, Trudy Levy, Charles Strobel, Mimi Michelle, Issa Stenzel Burns, Joan Harshman, Ralph Gordon, Jeffrey Davis, Harvey Spark, Donald Pillin, Sam Nickel, Ann Norman, Rudy Saperstein, June Landsberg Weinberg, Stephen Bender, Janet Wallach, Marilyn Brenda Otis, Mark Siegel, Sonia Gitchner, Scott Peters, Henry Krakauer, Lynn Davidson, Avi Poster, Rain Witt, and Jacqueline Glasser. Julie Babbitt Kingsley, Stephen Harold Biller, David Sam Olashansky, and Dewey Simpson. If I've neglected to mention the name of a loved one, please do so at this time. Yikadal vit kadash shemei rabbah, be'alma divrach irite malchute, b'chayachon uv'yomechon uv'chayo l'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kari v'imru amen. Yehi shmei rabbah mivarach le'olam olmei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitramam v'naseh, v'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal shemei d'kudashah b'richu, Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, dushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiram be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'mromav, Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Zichronam livracha. May the memories of our loved ones be every day for us a blessing. We toast to the sweetness of all those good things we celebrated earlier in the service and the celebrations still yet to come.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava u'v'ratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit כי הוא יום תחילה למקרא קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת.
לחיים.
לחיים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם המוציא לחם מן הארץ. Amen.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom.
Sorry, I screwed up the slides on Be'ahavta. That was beautiful.